Canary by Cloud 9 and 3/4. Chapter 24. A Taste of the Future. Midoriya quit dance. It took a lot of convincing for his mom to even give him the telephone so he could ring Miss Kita, informing him that he wouldn't be coming back. However, a check on the dance class's small social media account informed Midoriya that Miss Kita would be stopping her dance lessons anyway, considering she was expecting in a few weeks' time. That meant the whole ordeal was sorted for him. There was no way he'd keep going if there was an unfamiliar teacher there, someone who likely didn't know sign and would know Midoriya as Canary and not Izuku. Maybe he'd go back given some time. He just needed space. Space to get used to his new way of life, so to speak. Getting comfortable with his fame and his quirk, and most importantly, his talking. With the thought hanging heavy in his mind, Midoriya hopped on the train to reach the radio station that morning rather than going to UA. It was only when he gave up his seat to a frazzled-looking mother and her child that he looked across the train and spotted Shinso's head of indigo hair. With only one stop left, Midoriya decided against pushing his way through the crowd of people to reach his friend and instead just hurried along vaguely behind him once the train stopped, rushing up escalators and weaving his way through the steady stream of people to finally catch up with him. Together they walked to the front entrance of the Hero Agency for once. Since it wasn't Canary's hour, nor was there any particularly famous guests in the building, the persisting mob of press that often hovered outside the building had dissipated. They were immediately greeted by Elzora. "What's up, hero fledglings?" She yelled, and with a swift kick, she sent the boxes that held their hero costumes skidding across the polished floor towards them. There was someone else standing next to her that Midoriya didn't recognize. Clearly a hero, judging from his costume. "Be careful with those," he told Aozora in a hushed voice. "They're hero costumes," Aozora protested. "Count it as durability testing." The hero sighed, rubbing his temples in exasperation. "This," Aozora exclaimed suddenly, dramatically pointing at the white and gray-haired man beside her, "is Static. I do the radio stuff. Static does the super secret hero stuff. And then you know that President Mike does, the main hero stuff." Static opened his mouth to say something, but Aozora threw her arms open excitedly, unknowingly cutting him off. "Static and I used to be co-workers in our emergency line call center, until he got his proper hero license, that is. But hey, Canary knows all about our hero agency, but Raven doesn't." Midoriya wasn't at all discouraged by the fact that he would have to sit through an explanation of how things worked around here for a third time. So when Aozora told the two of them to run off and get changed into their hero costumes, he practically skipped the entire way, a warm, buzzing feeling rising in his chest as the matter dawned over him that, for the first time, Canary was becoming more than just a radio star. Shinso could see himself working here. He could visualize graduating UA and becoming a sidekick for President Mike alongside Midoriya. Oh god, if someone told him that he'd be considering this in the future, he'd brainwash them to throw themselves into the nearest fountain. Of course, President Mike's hero agency didn't seem to work in the same way as most others. President Mike was the main hero, the head of the operation, and the main presence in the public eye. He went out on patrols, had a few sidekicks that did the same, alongside having their own slightly less popular radio sections across the day. However, the real focus of the hero agency relied heavily on the radio station. By ensuring its popularity, those who listened to the radio would have a specific number drilled into their minds. A sort of emergency contact for people to call if they need a hero for a more delicate situation. Anything from mental health problems to serious domestic abuse cases. They don't always send out a response team, sometimes just relying on those in the call center to give those on the other side someone to talk to. Overall, the agency had two main response teams, President Mike's and an underground team called White Noise, working closely with the police and a host of other independent heroes from time to time in a well-managed network that Shinso had yet to properly get his head around. But now, sitting alone in a quiet office, a cold sinking feeling came over him as he realized something that perhaps should have been obvious from the start. he and Midoriya would become very different heroes indeed. Shinso fiddled with his feather necklace as he mulled over the thought. Would they grow apart because of it? As Midoriya waltzed out into the spotlight of action-based heroism and Shinso slipped into the darkness that underground heroes shrouded themselves in, would he have to drop his Raven persona in favor of something more secretive, unknown to the general public and the threats he may come to face? Your head is filled with fog. Shinso didn't jump at the sound. Static walked into the room, pacing around him in a, likely unintentional, menacing manner. You are so used to filling other people's minds with it that you don't realize when your thoughts consume your own, Static accused, sitting down in the chair beside him. Midoriya had been dragged off by Present Mike about half an hour ago to join him on patrol. Shinso felt sorry for him. He, however, had been left to Static, someone Shinso still knew very little about. I don't know what you're talking about, Shinso responded, tucking the feather back under his top, hiding the necklace's thin chain with his bulky black and yellow voice changer. He hadn't really had the chance to use it much yet, but was looking forward to putting his only support item to good use. Well, not only. There was still the small matter of what Eraserhead had proposed teaching to him yesterday. What were you thinking about? Static pressed, pulling at his fingerless black gloves absent-mindedly. Shinso hesitated before sighing deeply. My quirk means I'm of the most use unknown to the world. But you wish to be seen, Static assumed. Shinso shrugged. No, really. I don't care about the fame. I know the Canary doesn't either, but... well, that's the whole problem. You are concerned about being associated with your famous friend, and thus brought out into the light yourself, the hero concluded. He wasn't quite sure how to respond, or why they were having this conversation in the first place. But Shinso had a feeling that Static was all too used to dealing with other people's troubles. A tricky one, Static admitted. However, let us say, for example, in the future you become rather well known as an underground hero. I have been told that voice changer of yours, a very useful invention indeed. If you can learn to creep up on people and interject into their conversation unbeknownst to them, you will still be able to work effectively, despite them knowing of your abilities. Learn the correct skills and methods of combat, and you will find yourself useful in all kinds of heroic ambitions. That is true of any hero with any quirk. Shinso leaned back into his chair. It was a good point. Alternatively, you could come to separate yourself from your hero persona. You have a mask of sorts that hides your face. Perhaps you could change your hair. That's the only other thing I see that really makes you stand out. Another good point. But no one would be touching Shinso's hair. Siren wouldn't be pleased anyway. It wasn't as much of a literal bird's nest as Midoriya's was, but she had still come to enjoy sitting in it from time to time. Besides, according to Midoriya, Eraserhead would be far more effective at capturing villains if his hair didn't show off when he activated his quirk. But that didn't stop him from growing it out. But let us focus on the present rather than the future for now, shall we? Shinso cleared his throat and nodded, sitting upright again. Unfortunately, I cannot show you a great deal of our operations here at White Noise. Many of the situations we come to face are very fragile. We can't risk anyone other than professionals meddling with them, Static explained. In the meantime, we can... He suddenly put his hand up as if to stop Shinso was saying anything as he put his other hand to his ear. There was an earpiece concealed there, Shinso quickly noticed. He sat in silence for a moment, listening intently to whoever was on the other side. Understood, was all he mumbled in response. He leapt to his feet, about to rush towards the door when he hesitated, and looked back at Shinso. Are you coming? Shinso had no idea what was going on, but if it meant that he thought it did, then he was all in. He stood up so quickly that the chair was almost sent toppling over. He ran behind Static, fastening his persona cords, which was what he had eventually dubbed as the name of his voice-changing support item, over the bottom half of his face. Only then did he let himself grin. Static didn't go for the elevator and instead used his keycard to access the stairs, which he jumped down more than 2 at a time. The problem with our emergency number, Static called back as he continued to run. they had been on the 4th floor, so at least they didn't have too far to go, is that sometimes people call us instead of the police when they need help a little more urgently. He ran through the front door to the agency with Shinso sprinting along behind him as they charged through the streets. Especially kids! When they listen to the radio often and register our contact as someone to call instead of the normal 119. People darted out of the way as they came hurtling past. Shinso couldn't help but think about how much easier this could have been if they'd taken to the rooftops. Eraserhead's scarf really would be a good thing to come to master. They hadn't gone far when Static came to a screeching halt, holding his hand up to his ear again. After a moment, he turned back to Shinso to explain. One of my team managed to contact some other local heroes who were on patrol nearby. It's a hostage situation, attacking a local business just off the high street. We're not sure what provoked it, but there's a young kid in there, which makes the matter all the more serious. Shinso nodded once more as Static turned and started running once more, seemingly unsure of the direction he was heading in as he constantly checked with his operator, taking sharp corners and doubling back more than once. Hey, Static! Static finally stopped before a rather muscular hero and his similarly dressed sidekick, just outside the back of a dental practitioner's, of all things. Death Arms! Static nodded at the hero. Mind reaffirming the details of the situation? He turned around, glancing down at a second sidekick huddled up against the wall with her... Wait, Jiro? Well, earphone jack. The gruff man questioned. She faltered for a moment before replying, unplugging herself from the wall. From what I can hear, there are 3 villains, 2 holding hostages on this side of the building, and a third shouting at someone on from across the hall. She did a double take as she saw Shinso there beside Static. Of course, she'd never seen his hero costume before, only heard vague details of what he'd planned on it looking like. Right, if we take on the villains here, Static, can you take down the third? Death Arms questioned. Static nodded. Which is the best way in? He questioned Jiro. She replied, glancing back to the building. I think there was a window from the other side. Death Arms nodded with an improving smile on his face. On your intern? Static looked back to Shinso. We'll come with me, he declared. Give us 20 seconds to locate the window. Good. Earphone jack. Can you check how many hostages are present? Death Arms continued as Shinso hesitantly followed Static around the corner. Ah, right! Jiro was right about the window. It was open only slightly, so the heated argument whoever was inside was having could be heard clearly. Just think about what you're doing! A man shouts. No! It is you who should be having second thoughts, retorted a rather distort-sounding woman. Static peered carefully through the window, glancing for only a second before turning back to Shinso and using sign language. We have a female villain holding the child I mentioned as a hostage while she speaks with the dentist, he quickly explained. I will use my quirk on her and climb through the window. Follow me and take the child away. Shinso nodded surely, trying to hide the bubble of frenzied emotions rising in his chest. Static turned to look inside once more, but then... What is that? The woman's voice wobbled, then she laughed. Is someone there? I saw you outside the window! Static didn't seem too fearful, but Shinso was quick to assume he was hiding it. Come out here or I can see you, she demanded. When Shinso heard the distant whimper of the hostage, he raised his hand to his persona cords, fiddling with the mechanism as quickly as he could. Hey, no wait! Please! The man exclaimed. Now Shinso had his voice. Static opened the window further as he marched into view before raising his hand slowly above his head. Don't come an inch closer! The villain cried. Shinso took a deep breath and, with a voice that wasn't his own, said, Darling, please! Don't you darling me! There was a moment's silence before Static flung himself through the window, urging Shinso to follow. His eyes settled upon the scene for the first time. A red-haired woman stood blank-faced near the window. The kid had clearly fallen from her grasp and had now scurried to the other side of the dentist's chair, whilst the dentist himself stood in absolute shock, now far from him. Everything's going... As the tearful dentist started sputtering his thanks, Static turned back to Shinso. How long does that last? Shinso started, turning off his device again. Indefinitely, unless... There was a crash and a bang from the other side of the wall, probably where Death Arms and his sidekick were, and from the shelves above the villain's head a framed photo came tumbling down, landing on her feet. She yelped in pain, breaking free from her trance, and immediately lunged towards Shinso, who stood defenseless right beside her, about to grasp his face with glowing hot hands when... She shrieked a second time, falling to the floor and clutching her own head in clear agony, unfazed by her own quirk. Yet Static's hand was outstretched towards her. There was a moment of further screaming until silence fell over them once more, and the woman lay unconscious at his feet. Midoriya's mouth fell open. They were sitting in the waiting room outside the main radio studio. Shinso had just finished telling him all about his rather eventful morning. Shinso sat and waited for the inevitable bombardment of questions as he took off his voice changer and placed the mask gently on the table beside him. But the words that eventually fell out of Midoriya's mouth were, "So, what's Static's quirk?" Shinso face-palmed. What? Of course, that's what you asked me first. Shinso sighed. But I want to know! Shinso just stared at him in disbelief as Midoriya gazed back with his big green eyes as he desperately waited for an answer. Shinso was surprised he hadn't already somehow teleported a notebook to himself to write endless facts on it all. Midoriya shuffled forwards in his armchair, or the nest, as everyone insists it's called, waiting for Shinso's answer. He simply sighed again. I don't know. Something about filling someone's head with some kind of static sound. And he amplified it to the extent where the villain passed out? Midoriya assumed. That's amazing! I bet he's really good at creating distractions. I wonder how many people he can use it on at a time. Oh, and does he activate it? Was it sight? No touch, definitely not. Maybe just proximity? What if he used it whilst fighting someone? It would be really hard to attack and evade properly if your head was filled with static. Oh, what if... You know, Shinso interjected, stopping Midoriya from spiraling into one of his endless tangent outbreaks. For someone who has been mute for so long, you really are making up for it now. Midoriya blushed and grinned sheepishly at him. Sorry. Why are you apologizing? I said you talk a lot. That's the opposite of a bad thing in your case. Midoriya just pulled Siren from his hair, paying close attention to any feathers sticking out the wrong way, rather than acknowledging any sort of positive feedback thrown in his direction whatsoever. So, what have you been doing today? Shinso questioned after a moment of silence between them. I thought I'd see you at lunch, but I didn't. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, Midoriya muttered, apologizing again. I just ended up being super busy. He laughed nervously. You went on patrol with President Mike, right? Shinso recalled as he turned to lie down on the sofa he had been perched on. Yeah, that was terrifying. Shinso snorted, failing to suppress his laughter. It's not funny, Midoriya protested. There were so many people, and they all wanted to say hi to me and asked me to sing stuff and sign and... I don't need an explanation, I get it, grinned Shinso. People were bound to freak out seeing you in your hero costume for the first time. I suppose so. Midoriya put Siren on the arm of the chair and shuffled about a bit, hugging on one of the many pillows as he spoke. Anyway, that took forever. Not nearly as exciting as what you did. And then Aozora whisked me around the place so she could update the radio station's website, I think, with some more information about me on it, and take pictures and stuff, which was also pretty scary. Afterwards, there was, Minnem, one of President Mike's sidekicks. She does a radio segment around the middle of the day, and she was interviewing Mount Lady, her. Anyway, I think they started talking about me, and then Aozora just ended up pushing me in there, and... that was also kind of scary. And then... Shinso put a hand up to stop him, not unlike what Static had done earlier that day. Let me guess. Whatever happened next, it was scary. Midoriya blinked at him for a moment before sinking back into his seat with a groan. Yeah. Shinzo laughed manically at him, turning over slightly to see that scowling, angry bird look of his as Siren sung in a way that sounded suspiciously like laughter alongside him. They were then rather suddenly interrupted by Aozora, who had just briskly walked out of the elevator and into the room, a pen behind her ear, a pile of papers in her arms, her hair a mess as per usual, with her headphones dangling around her neck much like Midoriya's. She stopped and narrowed her eyes at them. I hear laughter. Shinzo tried to stop laughing, but Aozora's proclamation was so damn stupid that it just made him laugh harder. Whatever happens, she continued, if you didn't get it on camera, I'm disowning both of you. Midoriya started wailing about being disowned, despite the fact that it made zero sense. And Shinzo just sat there laughing, vaguely wondering why he found it so funny, and when the last time was he had found himself laughing that hard. I see Raven doesn't care about being disowned. Aozora huffed as she threw the stack of paperwork at the desk. She didn't seem so bothered that half of it ended up on the floor. I could not care less, Shinzo replied, finally pulling himself together. First of all, rude, she retorted pointedly. Secondly, do you want to go on the radio in like 5 minutes or not? Wait, you were being serious? Shinzo frowned. It was rather hard to tell what was a joke and what was not around here. Yeah, she exclaimed, waving her arms about and sending even more pieces of paper flying across the room. Siren was playing a game of swooping around them until she got smothered by one, and Midoriya was forced to dive forward to catch her. Why not? Aozora continued. And I want Owl in here at some point, she informed Midoriya. Her social media impression is brilliant. Wait, Jiro? Shinzo interjected. Is that her name? Grinned Aozora. Seriously, Shinzo needed to remember to ask for tips. What was with that smile? I actually saw her earlier today, he recalled. Midoriya blinked at him. You did? Yeah, she was at the villain attack I mentioned. We talked for a bit afterwards, mainly about how terrified that kid is going to be of the dentists for the rest of his life. Ah, she's a hero student, right? Aozora confirmed. Damn it! That means she's on an internship. Not this week, then. Maybe another time. Anyway, Shinzo flinched. Midoriya didn't. You coming in or what? Shinzo hesitated. If he went on the radio as Raven, he could say goodbye any and all anonymity that remained. But then, he thought back to his, well, he supposed he could call it his debut, and then to the wise words Static had told him. Besides, no one knew who Raven actually was, and Shinzo didn't necessarily have to use that as his hero name. That was the wonder of the radio. No one would even see his iconic hair. He smiled. I guess I am. Present Mike's radio show, Tuesdays and Thursdays from 18:30 to 19:30. Canary's Hour. Present Mike. Canary. Yay! Present Mike. It's 6:30! And we all know what that means! Canary. Hi! Present Mike. Canary's back! Canary. I'm back again! Present Mike. And this time, we have a second hero in training in the room with us! Guest. You mean other than Siren? Present Mike splutters. Present Mike. Siren is not a hero in training! Guest. She competed in the sports festival. Present Mike. She did not! Siren tweets aggressively in the background. Guest. We definitely would have lost if it weren't for Siren. Canary. He's right! Present Mike. Anyways, what I mean is, Canary's friend is not behind the soundproof glass this time! Canary. Does this mean I can do less talking? Present Mike. And guest. No. Canary. Worth a shot. Present Mike. Everyone say hi to Raven! Raven. Ravens are the best birds, apart from Siren. Siren chirps approvingly. Canary. Better than cockatoos? Raven. Better than cockatoos. Present Mike. Well, I feel betrayed! Raven. Cockatoos are loud, difficult, and have awful hairstyles. Canary tries to stifle his laughter but fails. Raven. I think your co-producer is dying. She just fell off her chair. Present Mike. I am the one who's dying here! I feel attacked! Canary. He never said you were a cockatoo! Did you just confirm that you are secretly a bird? Raven. Someone call Puffin. Canary. Puffin needs to stop giving us questionable conspiracy theories. Raven. Nah, Dove just needs to stop encouraging him. Canary. You don't help. Raven. That's because he has yet to come up with anything on me yet. Canary. You should be worried. Raven. I am. Present Mike. Can I ask what these conspiracy theories are? Raven. There's a lot on you and Canary being Canary. Let's not! Raven. Ow. No need to shout. Present Mike. Yeah, let's not do that! Raven. I am going to lose my hearing. Present Mike. How about instead we go on to our first traditional segment? Canary! Canary. What? Present Mike. Tell us a random fact! Canary. Raven. I thought you prepared these before the show. Canary. I keep forgetting. Raven. Then tell us a fact about forgetfulness. Present Mike. That's not going to... Canary. Okay. Did you know... Present Mike. Huh. Never mind. Canary. Then you are more likely to forget something if you walk through a doorway or even think about walking through a doorway. Present Mike. So, when I walk into another room and then completely forget why I'm going there, I'm not crazy? Canary. No. Raven. Debatable. Canary. It's a real psychological study. Raven. That you know all about because... Canary. I found it interesting. Raven. Why am I at all surprised? Canary. Maybe you shouldn't be at this point. Raven. Everyone should feel sorry for me and the amount of nonsense I have to translate through sign language. Canary. Well, you're the one who makes the silly sign names. Raven. Cockatoo was my stroke of genius, by the way. Present Mike. I am not surprised! Because the conversations you two have when you forget there's someone else in the room who can speak or sign your supposedly secret language, i.e. me, would definitely catch more than a few strange looks if they were uttered out loud! Raven. Well, when Canary decides that words work, we do get some strange looks. Canary. I'm sorry. Raven. You need to stop apologizing for every little thing. Anyway, half the time, they aren't even your fault. Canary whimpers something indistinguishable. Present Mike. Raven, can you translate? Raven. I speak 2 out of the 5 languages Canary knows. Mutter mode is not one of them. Siren tweets loudly in the microphone. Raven. Actually make that 6 languages, because Canary 100% can speak Siren's language, and that is a frightening thought. Present Mike. Can you speak Siren? Raven. I'm improving. Siren continues to chirp, periodically tapping at Canary's microphone. Present Mike. Well, my skills in Sirenese say that she's telling us all that it is that but a song. Raven. I'm pretty sure she just wants to eat the microphone. Present Mike. Cue the music! Time skipped through most of the show. Siren sings happily in the background. Raven. He's not back yet. Why isn't he back? Canary. Oh! Raven. Has this ever happened before? Canary. No! Raven. Whoa, great. Can we just lock the door? Canary. No! Don't do that! I don't know how any of the buttons work! The door slams open and shut again. Raven. Well, look who decided to show up. President Mike. I'm here! Raven. A perilous toilet break. President Mike. I wasn't gonna pretend that didn't happen! Canary. Probably for the best. Raven. I won't. President Mike. Moving on! Why don't we have a little go at the Canary questionnaire? Canary. Yes, Raven. Raven. Minus Raven. President Mike. Our first question is from Violet Winter. And they ask, what are your top 3 favorite songs? And they've asked for 3 because it must be hard to choose. And you would be right. Canary. I have to choose 3? Raven. Oh no. Whatever shall we do? Canary. I don't think I can narrow it down to only 3. Raven. Wouldn't want to hurt the other songer's feelings. Canary. But, I really like Wings. That's what I used first in the sports festival. I like flying. It's really fun. Siren chirps. President Mike. It seems like Siren agrees. Raven. Thank you for the translation. Canary. And then, I also really like Walking on Sunshine. That's one of the first songs I ever used my quirk on. With, I don't know. Anyway, I like it. It's fun. Raven. We don't talk about the first song you used. President Mike. What was the first song? Canary. Now everyone's going to ask. Raven. Have fun with that. Canary groans audibly. President Mike. Then what's your 3rd favorite song? Raven. Is it Canary? No! I'm never singing that again! Raven laughs quietly. Raven. It must have been quite a sight, though. Canary. Stop making everyone so curious! President Mike. 3rd favorite song! Canary. Fight song! President Mike. What about Raven's favorite songs? Raven. I don't sing. President Mike. You can still like music! Raven. I just listen to whatever Canary listens to. President Mike. Well, that's boring! Raven. I don't do singing or dancing or anything of the sort. Canary. You're looking at me like you're warning me not to try anything? Raven. Good. I'm glad the message has been clear. Canary. Well, it's okay. I don't go to dance anymore anyway. President Mike. What? Canary. Sorry? President Mike. Why'd you quit? Canary. All the people from dance are probably listening. Well, first of all, the teacher went on maternity leave, and I didn't really feel comfortable with anyone else. And then, sometimes the others would talk about Canary and stuff without realizing that it was me. Then after the sports festival, it felt really awkward, and everyone kept asking me questions and stuff. And then I almost accidentally used my quirk in the building, so that wasn't great. Raven. Define almost. Canary. It was fine! Raven. That is not encouraging at all. Canary. It was just a little rain. Raven. Inside. Canary. Maybe? Didn't I already tell you this? Raven. Not about the rain. You conveniently skipped that part. Canary. Sorry. President Mike. It's okay. Now you've just told me live on the radio. No problem there whatsoever. President Mike. Ah! Canary. What? President Mike. I see where the sarcasm and dry wit comes from now. Raven. I am an incredible influence. Canary. Wait, what? President Mike. I think it's safe to say that we are both slowly corrupting Canary. Raven. Me more than you. Canary. Well, why am I being corrupted? Raven. I don't know, but Dove's going to kill me for it. Siren twitters menacingly into the microphone. Raven. Or Siren is? Canary. I think that was a threat to the dove, and not you. President Mike.
Don't we have lessons on Sirenese?
Canary. I told you! I just guess! Raven. And I don't believe you. President Mike.
You know what I don't believe?
Canary and Raven. What? Raven. Jigs. Canary. Does that mean I can stop talking? Raven. You are hereby unjigged. President Mike.
It's 7:30.
Canary. Oh, wait, it is? Raven. And that means what exactly? President Mike.
It's the end of the show.
Canary. Shouldn't you know that? Raven. I don't know. I'm half asleep. Time is irrelevant. Canary. Tomorrow we're gonna meet with your favorite teacher. Raven. Shut it. President Mike.
Am I not your favorite teacher?
Raven. No. President Mike.
I am hurt.
Raven. Great. Look, even Siren's asleep, and I was under the impression that was impossible. President Mike.
Let us end our wonderful segment here before...
Canary. Is he being sarcastic? Raven. I don't think that's possible. President Mike.
Before any more of this continues!
Raven. I probably won't be back. Canary. Raven will be back soon. Raven. If I am, I'm in black... Raven's muffled murmurs continue. President Mike.
Well, there seems to be a story behind that! Canary, why don't you let Raven breathe?
Canary. Oh! Overdramatic gasping for air. President Mike.
We shall be seeing Canary again next Thursday at the same time as always. Now you've got to sing.
Canary. Until next time. President Mike.
Yeah!
Aizawa turned off the radio. He sighed, closing his file of paperwork. He still had a few forms to fill out after the last few villain arrests he'd had a role in, but they would have to wait. It was the end of the day, as emphasized by the end of the radio show. He tuned in on pure curiosity. Usually, he avoided it. He had to listen to Yamada's impulsively loud voice for most of the day anyway. But from the general buzz about this particular radio segment, he knew that this Midoriya would be on air, and possibly Shinso too. Now, Shinso sparked his curiosity. He reminded Aizawa way too much of himself at that age, tired of the repression, of the endless scramble for the spotlight. He just wanted to prove himself, to make a positive difference, rather than being kicked to the curb. But he was a hero at heart. Perhaps that was why he and Midoriya had gotten so close. He'd seen someone like him and decided to be the one to help him up, not thinking twice, or even considering what a real hero would do in that situation. He just did it anyway. Through teaching him to use Aizawa's capture weapon, he was certainly making an investment in the kid, but he believed he could make the cut. Midoriya was smart enough to twist Nezu's will, get them on their way to the hero course. But Shinso was proving that he could carry his own weight. He had a long way to go, but then again, most of the hero course students did. The fact that neither of the general studies kids cared that they'd have to work a little harder further proved that they deserved this shot. Speaking of ambition, Aizawa wondered how the current members of Class 1A were faring. There were those like Bakugo, who had aimed for the highest light possible, ones which settled for whatever they could, ones who were daring enough to step out of their comfort zone and try something new, and those who chose options that they believed best suited their abilities. And then there was Ida. He'd submitted one choice, a hero agency that didn't fit any of the parameters in Aizawa's mind. He had done well in the sports festival, had plenty of interesting options and paths to take, but instead, when he thrust his form into Aizawa's arms along with the others from the class, a cold determination set in his eyes. He went straight to Hosu. Perhaps Aizawa should have taken him aside, but he felt that it was a little too early to talk about his brother, so he decided that it would be best to leave him to come to terms with it in his own way. He was the class representative, after all. Aizawa may have slept through that little decision, but Ida had more than proved that he was worthy of the title. He was hardworking, rule-abiding, and overall one of the best students in his class. Surely he wouldn't do anything reckless. But still, to take an internship in the same place where his brother had been attacked by the hero killer Stain. Something wasn't right here. Aizawa glanced back at the clock. He had Shinso and Midoriya tomorrow. He hadn't figured out what he would be doing with them yet. They had Yamada today, and would have him again on Thursday. He would do well in showing them the ropes of media presence and basic hero logistics. Nemori on Friday would most likely do a similar thing. She would probably be taking advantage of Midoriya's growing fame and his versatile quirk. But Shinso... Aizawa had to make sure that whatever he organized to do with the two of them was beneficial to Shinso, considering the other teachers would most likely focus on Midoriya. He needed a lot of help anyway, with such inexperience with his quirk. He could just take them back to school, teach them some basic martial arts or parkour skills. Like Aizawa, both of them would have to rely heavily on their abilities beyond their quirks, since Midoriya couldn't use his all the time, and Shinso most certainly couldn't either. Then again, looking at Midoriya's skills in the sports festival, it was safe to say he was rather athletic. From the information the radio show gave him, his pursuits in dance had certainly delivered in terms of flexibility. He could dodge well, was fast, and clearly knew how to evade attacks long enough to build up the power of his quirk. Yeah, he could definitely keep up. What if he took them out on a proper internship experience? If he fell back on the original plan, spend the morning at school, seeing what they could do, and then took them out into the city in the evening. They could assist in some real hero work. Or at least see Aizawa doing it. From the various messages Yamada had sent him throughout the day, it had become apparent that Shinso had already been rather useful in that context, and Nezu knew how to twist the paperwork to let the general study students act as though they were hero students. Oh. But what if he didn't take them to Musutafu, and instead branched out a little further? He could use the guise of taking the two of them out of their comfort zone and to somewhere people aren't expecting to see Canary, whilst in the process having a valid excuse to check up on Ida. Maybe they could have that one-on-one talk that Aizawa had been putting off. He could also speak with whoever Ida's supervisor in his internship was. Who was that again? Oh yeah, Manuel. Aizawa had met him at some point before, he was pretty sure. Back when that trigger drug was a big issue. That reminded him of the vigilantes he'd worked alongside during the time. He'd had enough experience with the sort to know how things would go if Ida decided to take matters into his own hands. Revenge, no matter the motivation, was not an option for a hero. Yes, that would be the best thing to do, for all parties involved. Besides, Aizawa had seen Ida talking with Midoriya and Shinso many times before. He was pretty sure that he was part of the group with the silly bird names. Definitely not Dove. Or Owl, since both of them were girls. Probably Uraraka and Jiro. Then Shinso was Raven, that was for sure. And that left Crane and Puffin. Ida had to be one of those two. Ugh, why was he thinking about this? He should stop listening to the radio. Yamada knew all too well how to get you transfixed on something, and Aizawa was not about to stoop as low as trying to figure out the secret identities of... Okay, he really needed to stop now. He turned on his computer to buy the train tickets to Hosu before he changed his mind. UA would refund him. His computer mouse hovered over the purchase button. He had a feeling about all this. He couldn't tell if it was good or bad yet. But then he bought them and moments later felt a familiar mass brush itself against his legs. Perhaps that strange feeling had just been his cat staring at him from across the room as if he could telepathically demand food. At least he hoped it was.